fought the rest, now try the best.
But also, we're only talking about giving up one slot, right? We're not talking about all 4 being guests. We're just talking about just do at least 1. You guys really want only returning characters for season 3? I think that's so boring. Returning characters will satisfy Tekken players, but we also want to make sure that we're bringing in new players, and doing a guest character is quite honestly the only way to do that. If you do just returning characters, you're kind of in this like snake eating its tail kind of cycle. When people talk about Tekken 8, they're like, oh, most of the DLC is recycled. People want something new. People want something more. The only people who want legacy characters is the people who are missing their character, or the people who just don't want the game to be ruined. Like, I can see it from the people who are like, oh, I don't want, Tekken 8 to, ruin the identity, but they're kind of doing that already with their legacy characters. We need attention, basically, is what I'm saying. Tekken is in a position where season 2 put it as like this game that is like known to be trash. So they need to fix the game, and then at the same time you fixing the game, put something incredible in the game that's going to get everyone's attention. Everyone thinks that this game is horribly broken. Even you guys. You guys think the game is horribly broken. Imagine if you weren't a Tekken player. You're a Tekken player, which is why you can be satisfied with legacy. But imagine if you weren't a Tekken player. You'll be like, oh, they just added some guy from Tekken 7 and that game sucks. Pass. I think at this point we got to start taking into consideration that maybe some of these things are just impossible. We know that Harada reaches out to people all the time, and if the SNK devs wanted to give us Kiri, they would have did it. They wouldn't have been saying stupid stuff like, oh, well, Kiri can't hit women, so he can't be in a fighting game. And then when they were asked about it most recently, they said, we want to do something better. We don't want to collaborate with fighting games. We have bigger aspirations than that. Kind of like a spin in the face. Tekken players forget that those guys said that. There's a lot of Tekken players who think that they won't be broken based on who it is. Like, oh, if they do Baki, Baki's not going to be broken. If they do Baki, he's going to be super legit and he's not going to be broken at all. And it's like, if you think that, bro, you are losing your mind. No matter what guest character they put in this game, it's going to be absolutely bonkers in terms of bounce. I mean, think about it. We had 5 total and all of them were super cheap. Why would the 6th one not be cheap as well? I want Bob, Lei, Kuni back ASAP. I don't care if people don't want them. I get that sentiment. I want those characters back as well, but it's like you have 4 characters for a reason, you know? Using all 4 characters for returning would kind of be a missed opportunity, because every season pass is an opportunity to bring in new players. And I know when I say new players, Tekken players kind of get shivers down their spines, because usually when you think of new players, you think of like simplification and whatnot, but that's the incorrect way of doing it. There's good ways of bringing in new people and there's bad ways of doing it. A good way is doing a fire collaboration, like putting in Dragon Ball Z skins in Tekken. And the reason why I use Dragon Ball as an example is because Bandai Namco owned the exclusive IP rights to that game. It's literally Harada just walk down the hallway in the Bandai Namco building, knock on the door and be like, hey, let's talk about Tekken, versus you having to get another company. Like if you take that Tekken Waffle House thing, that was an idea that players had, and Harada, we know for a fact he went to Waffle House to ask those guys if they would do it, and they probably told him no. This is why Mortal Kombat, a lot of their guest characters is from their own IPs, because it's much easier, much more cost efficient. And the same way that Mortal Kombat does that with Warner Bros., Tekken should do that with Bandai Namco. And you don't have to necessarily do a character. You could do skins, a stage. Imagine that Pac-Man stage, but for Dragon Ball, for Naruto, for some iconic anime. We got Clive. He pretty much ruined the game. The game was ruined before Clive even showed up, bro. Lydia, Heihachi. Clive isn't doing anything that Jun Kazama and Yoshimitsu isn't doing. Victor isn't doing. First, they need to fix the core game. Why are we talking about DLC when balance is still trash? Okay, so we talked about this before, right? Guest characters are different from the people who do balancing. On Moby list around 36 companies and teams specialize in support. 36 can barely tell. Who do you think made the free DLC story? Shop skins, stages, random game improvements, Tekken Lounge. And we don't know how big these teams are. These teams could be 2 people. These teams could be 3 people. The point is that there's multiple different teams that makes this game what it is. Baki, while very silly, is more grounded in realistic fighting than some of the other animes. But yeah, that doesn't matter though. The level of groundedness doesn't matter at all. I mean, look at these 2 characters on screen. What's grounded about these 2 idiots? I know what you guys are thinking. What about like the Kamehameha? What about, Final Flash? What about like, Spirit Bomb? All of that stuff could be like domain expansion rage arts. Make the instant transmission a parry. You don't need Ki Blast and Tekken. Ki Blast can work like Just like that. High attack, once again, it can be blocked. It can be crouched. It has a lot of startup, so you can see it coming. But then also it has charge up, so you can't be doing like 1-1 Kamehameha. He literally has Psycho Crusher, right? What's the difference between this and Goku? This is already like a Kamehameha. 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 This is literally a Dragon Ball Z character already. And he has that laser that he can shoot grounded. I don't know the input of it. He has this laser as well. But he got wings, so it makes sense that he flies. Oh my god. It's not about the method of flying. Because what about Ogre? Ogre could fly, and he doesn't have wings. Clive doesn't have a flamethrower. How's he generating flames response? Yeah, exactly. Bandai is allergic to money. Their leadership just can't comprehend a good idea. Harada wanted to do Deadpool, and Marvel was like, okay, if you want Deadpool, you got to do a couple of other Marvel characters as well, not just Deadpool. And they were like, no, thank you. And it's like, wait, what do you mean, no thank you? When Tekken 7 was going on, that's when Marvel was king. That's when Marvel was making billion-dollar movies. If we could have got Deadpool, and I don't know who else they wanted to give us, Spider-Man, Captain America, or something like that, bro, that would have been fire. They didn't do that, and instead they did Ganryu, Zafina. Goku hair collab would be cool. Yeah, you can even do an item where you just put the Goku orange gi, the Super Saiyan different hair colors. They could put the Naruto headbands. Like Pac-Man, I don't need necessarily a Pac-Man character. Yeah, exactly. Why would they add another 2D fighter when the Tekken community vividly hates 2D fighters like Geese? Guest characters are not to satisfy Tekken players. Guest characters are to bring in players from a totally different part of something. We're talking about 4 per season, right? 3 characters are for Tekken, but you should have 1 character out of that 4 that is for the sole purpose of bringing in a new audience. Do you guys agree with that? Or do you think that all 4 is supposed to be for Tekken players? It's about getting more players. Yeah, that's the thing. Guest characters are not for the people who are already playing the game. Guest characters are to bring in other fandoms. That's what guest characters are for. And you want to try to find a fandom that would move over to Tekken, like a Call of Duty, right? That's why you put Tekken skins in Call of Duty. Some things will increase the popularity of the brand. Some things will increase the player count. It's not for Tekken sweats, it's for the casuals. The game spends too much giving to non-players. So first off, you broke your trust with your core audience, Tekken players. You fix that by balancing the game. Then you do a character that will satisfy the gaming community as a whole. And this is the thing, I'm not saying ignore Tekken players. I never made that argument. I'm just saying that you can't just make a Tekken game for only Tekken players. They tried that 2 times. Tekken 4 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and look how it turned out. So you can't just make a Tekken game for Tekken players. You have to make it for bringing in new players. And this is what they did with Tekken 5. Tekken 5 was made with the sole concept of bringing in new players. That's why it had all those modes and all those features and everything that you guys remember. A lot of people hear the term bringing in new players and they think Tekken 8 simplification. But this is only Tekken 8 we're talking about. What about what Tekken 3 did to bring in new players? What about Tekken 5? Baki would be a decent character. I think Baki should have been in 7. They should have did some Marvel characters in Baki in 7, and then they could have did Tifa in Tekken 8, and then they could have get Goku in Tekken 8. Because the problem here is not that you guys are being unrealistic or you guys are this or that. The problem is that Tekken should have did some of these things already. How are we 6 years into the Baki campaign? Baki should have been done already. Maybe if we already had a Baki, maybe you guys would be more accepting to some other anime. You know, people were saying that instead of doing a season 3, they need to do a Tekken 8 DR. Each game had their like DR, BR type thing. And that's what people are saying Tekken 8 Season 3 should be. Because people are understanding that you can't just balance the game and everything be fine. The game has lost too much ground and lost too much goodwill. And you need to bring that goodwill back in a dramatic fashion. This is why people also say to start season 3 with a guest character. People say these things because they understand the situation that Tekken 8 is in. Dragon Ball is too easy of an idea. Everyone's loved Dragon Ball, and of course it makes money, but we already have Dragon Ball fighting games. You guys don't like it because it is too easy? That's so backward. That's the whole point, is that it has a massive fan base and it's easy to do. Yeah, we're trying to get people to play Tekken. We want Tekken 8 to break records. You guys are perfectly fine with fighting games only being able to win fighting game of the year, and that's it. They're not able to win best sound, they're not able to win best story, they're not able to win the game of the year, they're not able to win best visuals, they're not able to win none of that. And you guys are perfectly fine with that. We like fighting games, right? So when will fighting games get the respect that they deserve? There's nothing in this game that is going to impact culture. What is the culture relevance of Tekken? It's nothing. And I don't know why you guys are okay with that. We have an opportunity here. We're fighting game players, bro. If we don't have higher expectations for fighting games, if we're okay with fighting games having 5,000 players on Steam, what are these other guys supposed to think as well? People talk about Tekken as if it's this thing that died in the 90s. Oh, they still make those? You talk about that one game that was on the PlayStation 1? Virtual Fighter has the right idea. Virtual Fighter, they know that their relevance, that their popularity, everything is gone, and they know, like, we want to make our game popping now. People really forgot Tekken exists. Yeah, exactly. And Tekken players are okay with that. Think bigger. I'm thinking realistic. Baki and King and Ashura. That's like if you tell your kid, if your kid's like, I want to be an astronaut, and you're like, don't think bigger, think realistic. You need to be a fry cook. It's like, bro, what are you teaching? Don't dream big, dream realistic. Bro, what? Also, I would counter you and say that Dragon Ball Z is realistic. Bandai Namco owns the exclusive rights to that. The person who is in charge of Dragon Ball Z is a couple of doors down from Harada right now. If Harada can have Marvel in the discussion room, he had Marvel talking about Tekken characters. What do you mean it's not realistic that they could do that with Dragon Ball? They're in the same building.